Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Friday, the Friday before Christmas, I guess. And all through the house, the news was playing, and we're going to tell you what it's about. It's the Friday news dump, and we are going to go ahead and cover a headline so we know what we're talking about today. And then we're going to get into our news stories. Today on Before Coffee, EU deal to reclassify gig workers as employees falls apart at the last minute. Shame for Uber Eats drivers.
And Toyota has the largest auto recall of 1 million vehicles.
Scientists discover the first new antibiotics in over 60 years using AI.
And Fredrick Douglas mural in his hometown draws some divisions and other news briefs.
Barbies, mugshots, and baby girls. Here are 2023's defining memes.
Those stories and more, which is December 22nd, 2023, Forefather's Day. Not 5 fathers or 6 fathers, Forefather's Day on Before Coffee.
Okay, today's first news story is bad news for anybody who runs around town delivering stuff to people who are too busy to do themselves. This is for Jorge Liboriero and Aida Sanchez Alonso. A hard-fought deal on a draft law designed to improve the conditions of millions of gig workers across the European Union unexpectedly fell apart on Friday morning during a meeting of ambassadors in Brussels. The law, which took months to negotiate, is immediately thrown into disarray, raising serious doubts it will survive before the next elections to the European Parliament. Under the proposed directive, self-employed workers of digital platforms like Uber and Deliveroo could be reclassified as formal employees and therefore granted access to basic labor and social rights if they meet 2 of the 5 economic indicators. Well, then they can just avoid those indicators so that they don't have to hire real workers. The change of status could affect up to 5.5 million of the 28 million gig workers currently active across the bloc, according to European Commission's estimates. The provisional agreement on the directive was released last week between the Parliament and the Council, which represents member states. Spain, the current holder of the Council's rotating presidency, was tasked with speaking on behalf of the other 26 countries and defending their collective interests. Ambassadors were supposed to simply ratify the text that emerged from the negotiations, but during the behind-the-scenes meeting on Friday, a majority of countries described as solid by diplomatic source made it clear they would not support the outcome of the institutional talks, making it impossible to move forward. The legal presumptions of an employment relationship as opposed to self-employment, and the administrative burden we cited as 2 of the main reasons for the oppositions. We have reached the conclusion that we do not have the necessary qualified majority to reach an agreement on this important file, said a spokesperson of the Spanish presidency, confirming the news. We have therefore decided not to submit the text to formal vote at COREPER, the ambassadors' meeting, today, and pass it to the upcoming Belgian presidency to continue negotiations, on which we wish them the best of luck. The collapse took place the last day before Brussels grinds to a halt for the winter break, which means a fresh push to amend the text and gather the necessary votes is not likely to happen until mid-January at the earliest. If the changes demanded by the rebellious countries are too significant, the Council will be forced to reopen negotiations with Parliament, further prolonging the process. The co-legislators have until February to conclude all their negotiations due to the cutoff deadline imposed by the next EU elections scheduled for early June. I've said this again like 2 weeks ago, but I don't understand why, if there's an election in June, you have to stop working in February. What about like May or, April? But February, the year just started. Oh yeah, but half these people aren't going to be around. Okay, so they should stop working. I'm leaving my job in 6 months, so I'm just going to stop working now. But they still have to pay me. They still have to pay me those 6 months while I'm not working because I just don't understand this.
I'm so important to my job, I can't do it.
Yeah. A rejection of this at this stage of legislative process is extremely rare and spells bad news for the directive. The move drew comparisons with Germany's last-minute demands to include an exemption for e-fuels and a gradual ban on sales of fossil fuel cars. This time, however, the reason behind the opposition are described as much broader and entrenched, touching on different aspects of the law. The directive presented by the European Commission in December 2021 has from the outset been a target of intense scrutiny from the media and private sector. A report released last year by Corporate Europe Observatory found that companies like Uber, Deliveroo, Bolt, and Wolt had rapidly increased their spending in Brussels, i.e. lobbying, to influence the shape of the law. These firms face the prospect of ballooning costs if the millions of gig workers using their platforms are reclassified as employees, which they are. I just don't get this. And given we're just providing you the place you get to go to hire people to deliver your food. That's all we're doing, except for the fact that they have to deal with risks and that I know for a fact. I think it's Uber Eats. Has to pay the freelancer, we're gonna call them, if the person they're delivering to cancels the order. They have to take the insurance hit, right? Uber Eats has to do that, not the freelancer. The freelancer doesn't just go, oh darn, well that person canceled the order after I got all their stuff for them. That's not, Uber has to still pay them for it. So they're acting like employers where they have to take off extra costs for insurance, but they don't actually want to have employees as their title. You know, these people are our employees. We might have to give them benefits. Oh no! And given access to labor and social rights such as minimum wage, collective bargaining, and working time limits. Well, they're gonna have collective bargaining soon when they go on strike or something, I guess. Working time limits, health insurance, sick leave, and unemployment benefits, and old age pensions. Additionally, the directive, as agreed upon by the Council and the Parliament, would introduce rules on the use of algorithms for human resource management. It would also prevent platforms from processing certain kinds of personal data, such as emotional state of gig workers, their private conversations, and their union activity. So, God forbid, people get treated like humans when they do work. I know, it's really hard.
Right? Because they're unskilled. You're unskilled, you can't possibly need money.
Yeah. Unskilled. I love that as well. Like, it's not a skill to run around on a bike avoiding traffic in New York City. You know, I really hate that that word even exists. What does unskilled even mean? Everything requires skill. Walking requires skill.
Customer service is a skill I can't perform. I cannot perform customer service. I will tell people exactly what I think of them. That's a skill. Taking people's shit is a skill. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You know, every single thing we do in life that we don't get paid for is a skill. Everything. Breathing is a skill, okay? I'm tired of people you're doing unskilled labor. Unskilled. Not to pick on Kim Kardashian, but what's her skill?
Her skill is being a great shitload of money and doesn't have to go on strike. You know how hard it is to make people not only like you, but pay for shit that you make? Very hard. I'm just saying, everyone has a skill here.
It's a great gig once you get it, though. You don't have to do anything.
If I could,
I'm just saying it's not really a skill.
If I could rub a lamp and go to a genie and give them a wish, my wish would be the word unskilled labor to be deleted off people's brains. No one's ever heard of such a thing. That's what I want to do.
Management is unskilled labor. What's so great about kissing butt all day?
It takes a lot of humility to kiss butt.
I'm telling you.
You gotta have zero pride.
I can call anything unskilled. I see a lot of football players on a weekly basis who are unskilled and are getting paid, right? So there you go. A lot. You know, more than I make.
That's my story.
All right. This is my story. This is Yahoo Finance, Lionel Lim, Toyota. That cough. Saving that up. Hopefully I can get through this now. Toyota, the world's largest automaker by vehicles sold, takes a hit as it recalls over 1 million cars, and a subsidiary reveals fake data stretching back to 1989. Toyota did not have a good Wednesday. The car makers first halted all worldwide shipments from Daihatsu, one of its subsidiaries, over an investigation related to safety. The company also had to recall 1 million vehicles in the U.S. due to problems with its car's airbags. Daihatsu in April that it rigged side collision safety tests for vehicles mostly sent to Toyota. That revelation led to an independent third-party investigation which uncovered 174 safety irregularities in 64 miles, including those delivered to Toyota, Mazda, and Subaru. On Wednesday, Daihatsu halted sales of Daihatsu-developed models currently in production, both in Japan and globally. Oh, by the way, we used to own a Daihatsu, but back in 1990, they don't sold in the United States anymore. It was a nice little car. Of course, they weren't testing this. The thing about, why did they let car makers, I know Daihatsu is supposedly doing the testing with their subsidiary, right? They let them do their own safety checks? Does that seem counterproductive? Of course they're going to rubber stamp it. Get that shit out the door. Yeah? We need profits. What do you think we're doing here? We're not here to make people safe. Profits. The report found irregularities reaching as far back as 1980 that noted an increase in the number of problems from 2014 onwards. Problems included falsified test results and the manipulated data, which the report blamed on tightened, rigid development schedules. Oh yeah, we're in no control of our safety because we're on a schedule. On Thursday, Japan's transport ministry raided Daihatsu's headquarters in Osaka. Oh, that must have been fun. How many? Remember the old traditional Japanese, honorable thing? I wonder how many people are falling on their swords these days. Literally, used to fall on their swords. It used to be very dishonorable in Japan society to do anything wrong, right? I wonder if that exists anymore. Daihatsu's history can be traced back to the 1990s. I'm sorry, early 1900s. Sorry. Oh, wait, let me start over. Daihatsu's history can be traced back to the early 1900s. The company started producing cars for other brands in 1969 when it started manufacturing vehicles for Toyota. It has since expanded to producing cars for other companies like Subaru and generally sells smaller vehicles as for the Japanese market as well as for the Southeast Asia and Latin America. In a statement released Wednesday, Toyota said that it had increased the number of OEM vehicles sourced from manufacturers like Daihatsu and admitted that they may have put pressure on the subsidiary. Toyota said it was not aware of the situation with the company's certification operations. The Japanese automaker promised to revitalize Daihatsu, yet warned the process would take time. Toyota is the world's top automaker by vehicles sold, selling 10.5 million vehicles in 2022, far ahead of the 8.3 million sold by the Volkswagen Group. Daihatsu and Hino Motors, another Toyota subsidiary, manufactured 990,000 vehicles sold by Toyota. There's your financial manufacturing sector news. And I guess we'll take a break so I can really cough and send it back to you.
All right. Let's go ahead and look at what's going on in science. That's right. They've done it. They've discovered new antibiotics in the last 30 years. In the last 60 years using AI. They haven't found any new biotics until they've used AI to find the ones. There you go. I can speak. This is from Ocean Dubois. A new class of antibiotics for drug-resistant Staphylococcus aureus (MRSA) bacteria, which was discovered using more transparent deep learning models. The use of artificial intelligence (AI) is proving to be a game changer when it comes to medicine. Yes, something we can actually use it for instead of creating fake art on the internet. Like, come on, guys, this is what we should be using AI for. Discovery of the new compound that can kill a drug-resistant bacterium that kills thousands worldwide every year could prove to be a turning point in the fight against antibiotic resistance. The insight here was that we could see what was being learned by the models to make their predictions that certain molecules would make for good antibiotics. James Collins, professor of medical engineering and science at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and one of the study's authors, said in a statement, "Our work provides a framework that is time-efficient, resource-efficient, and mechanically insightful for a chemical structure standpoint in ways we haven't had to date." The results are published today in Nature and co-authored by a team of 21 researchers. The team behind the project used a deep learning model to predict the activity and toxicity of the new compound. Deep learning involves the use of artificial neural networks to automatically learn and represent features from the data without explicit programming. It is increasingly being applied in the drug discovery to accelerate the identification of potential drug candidates, predict their properties, and optimize the drug development process. In this case, researchers focused on methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA. Infections with MRSA can range from mild skin infections to more severe and potentially life-threatening conditions such as pneumonia and bloodstream infections. Almost 150,000 MRSA infections occur every year in the European Union, while almost 35,000 people die annually in the bloc from antimicrobial-resistant infections, according to the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, ECDC. The MIT team of researchers trained an extensively large deep learning model using an expanded dataset. To create the training data, approximately 39,000 compounds were evaluated for their antibiotic activity against MRSA. Subsequently, both the resulting data and details regarding the chemical structures of the compounds were input into the model. What we set out to do in this study was to open the black box. These models consist of very large numbers of calculations that mimic neural connections, and no one really knows what's going on underneath the hood, said Felix Wang, a postdoc at MIT and Harvard, and one of the study's lead authors. To refine the selection of potential drugs, the researchers employed 3 additional deep learning models. These models were trained to assess the toxicity of compounds on 3 distinct types of human cells. By integrating these toxicity predictions with the previously determined antimicrobial activity, the researchers pinpointed compounds capable of effectively combating microbes with minimal harm to the human body. Using this set of models, approximately 12 million commercially available compounds were screened. Yeah, no human could do that fast. The models identified compounds from 5 different classes, categorized based on specific chemical substructures with the molecules that exhibited predicted activity against MRSA. Subsequently, the research acquired around 280 of these compounds and conducted tests against MRSA in laboratories. This approach led them to identify 2 promising antibiotic candidates for the same class. In experiments involving 2 mouse models, one for MRSA skin infection and another for the systemic infection, each of these compounds reduced the MRSA population by a factor of 10. So they used a model to basically generate 12 million different combinations of compounds that could create an antibiotic. And then they got it all the way down to 280 and then tested 280 of those themselves and said, you know what? These 2 are the only ones that look promising. Kind of sad, but I'm sure it saved a lot of work. But it is sad they only discovered 2. But this is only for one disease. So there's probably plenty of ways they can use this model to create more antibiotics for more things. And we'll finally cure the common cold, I guess.
Oh, sure. Of course, somebody will buy it and patent it and have the patent for 20 years, or they can charge $400 a dose.
Yep.
And that's how capitalism works. People monetize every damn thing.
That's the end of
Everything's a trade. Nothing. All right. So we're going to do news briefs and back to our stories here. One of the major stories before we get on to our big story, we have a weather story involving Europe. Early signs. This is from severeweather.eu. Stratospheric warming wave now likely to bring a more wintry weather pattern in January. Early signs show a major shift in the polar vortex of the strong stratospheric warming wave now likely to bring wintry weather pattern in January. They're already discussed, but it means a weakening or even collapse of the polar vortex could bring a much expected weather pattern change across the United States and Europe as we head deeper into winter. We already discussed the major January weather pattern, but we never really got into the in-depth. Well, I didn't discuss that. The best way to understand the polar vortex visualized in simple terms is just name that describes the broad winter circulation over the northern and southern hemisphere. Polar vortex is high up into the atmosphere. The lowest level of the atmosphere is called the troposphere, where all the weather events are. But above that, we have the stratosphere, a deeper and drier layer, and the home of the ozone layer. For that reason, we tend to separate the entire polar vortex into the upper stratospheric and lower tropospheric part. They both play their role differently, so we monitor them separately. Both parts together for the winter circulation across the northern hemisphere. And They're going to go into all the science of it, but the gist of the article is you're going to get some violent winter weather as this thing rips apart in parts of Northern Europe and, of course, North America. And also Rudy Giuliani, who you've come to just want to go away at this point, has declared bankruptcy and said he's destroyed. Of course, the bankruptcy will protect him from the creditors, but as already said in the order by the jury, they said, no, Rudy, you cannot file for bankruptcy and protect yourself from this ruling. And by the way, the judge yesterday said, pay up now. Our Wednesday said that.
They're selling your 3 cars in your house.
Oh yeah, well, whatever, man. We have no pity for you. All you had to do was shut the fuck up. That's all you had to do, Rudy. Shut the fuck up. So here you are. And we want us to cry for you. We don't care. You're head, Here's the thing. How many people did Rudy send to prison as a prosecutor? And how many of them is he going to meet on the way down? Ooh. How many La Cosa Nostra did he send to prison? Look at that one, huh? Oof. Anyway, wouldn't want to be Rudy. Oh well, sucks to be Rudy. In local news, a Fredrick Douglas mural in his hometown in Maryland draws some divisions. This is from wypr.org, which is a local Maryland site. No, it's from NPR. Sorry, it's from NPR. Alana Weiss. A small town in Maryland, 15 miles up the road from where I sit. A small town in Maryland, Eastern Shore, it's found itself divided over a new mural, the depiction of the county's most elder statesman, Fredrick Douglas. Oh, you have a picture of it. Have you got the picture?
Yeah, I'll show it right now.
On the wall outside of the Out of the Fire restaurant in Easton, a 21-foot-tall Douglas is seen posed as a slim European-cut suit, high-top white Converse sneakers, and an oversized wristwatch, squatting like he's posing for Instagram. His facial expression is the same look of defiance often captured in the 19th century's most photographed figure, and behind him, dripping graffiti, reads the word Liberty. Restaurant owner Amy Haynes and her husband Richard Mark said they ordered the larger-than-life portrait of Douglas as a way to honor the famed abolitionist and bring more public art to Easton. We always felt that one wall, a very substantial wall on Washington Street, should have a mural, and it should be Fredrick Douglas. When we came across a print that our friend sent us, a copy of Fredrick Douglas in a contemporary setting, we looked at it and felt very strongly that if we were going to move forward with the mural, that it would be a great image to have. The portrait has been up for just over a month, but already some members of the community have spoken out against the image, including a number of Douglas's descendants who say the portrayal is humiliating. Cousin Jack called me and said, have you seen that mural they got up on the wall? Got Uncle Fredrick looking like a hoodlum. He doesn't look like a hoodlum. He looks like a guy wearing a suit. I don't know what they think a hoodlum looks like. I'm looking at the picture. I'm sorry. Hoodlum? Nah, I don't. All black people in suits are hoodlums? I'm trying to figure that one out. Because he's wearing sneakers, that makes you a hoodlum? Okay, I have no idea why you would be offended by what he's wearing. I really don't. I'm not privy to this offense you have to have for this to be, in line to be offended by this. It's clothes. Which should he have been wearing slave garb? Would they not offended by that? Anyway, I'm gonna stop editorializing. I called the owner of that night and had a talk with him, and he made comments where he said, I think that reaches out to the youth. And as I said, there are the same young black boys who are trying to get to pull up their pants. We don't need them aspiring to something like that. For Bailey and others who oppose the mural, the differing opinions on this piece represent something much bigger than that. Haynes and Marks, the couple behind the mural, are both white, as the artist who made the piece, as is the artist who made the piece. Bailey and many of the picture's most vocal detractors are black. The mural does not look like the recorder of deeds, Bailey said. It does not look like a U.S. Marshal. It does not look like a man that fought for the rights of women and all black folk. Moniane Jackson Amos runs Fred's Army, an organization dedicated to Douglas memory. She was similarly appalled at the depiction of Douglas. It was a lot of work trying to get Fredrick Douglas recognized in his hometown, a place that he's escaped from and came back a statement. So we wanted to be seen in that light. But he is recognized. This isn't the first time he's been recognized. Would you stop it? But Adam Himoff, the artist behind the piece, said getting recognition for Douglas is part of the message. Why, look at this. We're talking about it on NPR, aren't we? We live in a time when books are being banned and the subject matters are being banned because they're possibly revealing ugliness in our nation's history, Himoff said. And there's definitely a lot of ugliness in our history. And that ugliness needs a voice, just like Fredrick Douglass used his voice to speak against the institution of slavery. Some like what they see. Marks and Haynes said they were spoken to members of the Bailey family and other critics. I'm glad we have a dialogue about it, like some honest, raw dialogue, Haynes said. I think that's important in the community. I feel like with this piece, what I've already appreciated about it is I've engaged in conversations with people whose past I probably never would have crossed. She said she has no plans to take down the artwork. Outside the restaurant recently, a number of patrons spoke highly of the piece. I think it's fantastic, said Kathy Poison, a resident of neighboring St. Michael's, Maryland. Oh, I gotta go to St. Michael's. That's a really cool little village. They really do Christmas. I mean, they really decorate. When I look at the image, I see the future. When I look at that image, I think of any young person I see maybe in the street could be the next Fredrick Douglass. It reminds me that there's leadership and new leaders everywhere. Let's hope. So I get excited about it. I feel inspired about it. Her husband, Kevin Garber, was similarly moved. In fact, it was Garber whose Frost brought the artwork to Marks and Haynes' attention. So we have a little role in the mural, Posen said. But the coolest part is that it's up there in our community. Hopefully, it's a shining a light. Joseph and Candace Barbasia were visiting town from their home in Delaware. They stopped in the Out of Fire and wanted to examine the mural more closely after their meal. A couple of things struck me about it, and that was the modernization of figures, definitely usually not dressed in a watch and in a suit. That and the forthrightness of Fredrick Douglas' stare, which is part of the photographic legacy of the man. Joseph, who is an artist, said it's natural for artists to take these types of liberties on works and figures in the public domain. In addition to the mural outside of the restaurant, the couple ordered smaller prints, the image to be sold ranging from $45 to $75, with the proceeds going to the scholarship fund in Douglas's name. To Bailey, the idea of scholarship adds insult to injury. Whose education did they pay for? Nobody's. They give a few $100s to hear the kids. Well, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to do a fucking thing. What are you complaining? Okay, I'm sorry. They found people that are just getting offended, and that's it. All right. Whose education did they pay for? Nobody. They give a few $100. I'm going to do it in the bitchy voice. I don't care what this guy sounds like in real life.
Whose education they pay for? No, nobody's. They give a few $100s to kids, whatnot, to get a book or something like that or whatever. And that's not a scholarship. That's how many Baileys have they given a scholarship. No.
Okay. So this guy's asking for a handout, basically. In addition to potential racial divides, generationally, members of the community see this split on the piece. At the Building African American Mind Center in Easton, a group of preteen and teenage boys agreed that the image was cool, a modern take on a figure they said they did not learn much about in school. Wow. People wanting possibly to learn about him. It's designed and they put it in an area where, like, it pops out and it makes the area look better. So the 12-year-old Khalil Jenkins, David Nichols, 15, and also in the program reacted similarly. I like how it's designed and the colors, Nichols said. I think it's really nice. One of the adult learners at the program, 20-year-old Xavier Rahim, said that getting a hipper, modernized portrait of Douglas might be exactly the kind of thing that could help young people relate more to their elders. A lot of them don't get taught in a memorable way about some of these historical figures, Rahim said. They might not be able to relate the statues that we have of Fredrick Douglass here, so they might pay less attention to it. Whereas something as flamboyant, just as modern as what's depicted in this new mural, it's a lot easier for them to see that and say, okay, who's this person? That looked pretty cool. So there's your story. And again, to me, art is meant to provoke, not to sit there and go, that's a pleasant face.
Supposed to make
move on with your life. No, you don't go, holy shit, look at that fucking mural. Oh, excuse my language. Holy shit, look at that fucking mural. Anyway,
Pardon my language.
And again, the people they go to their relatives. If the relatives have some big, huge, like, you know, just because you're blood relatives to somebody doesn't give you any credentials at all. I'm sorry. You know what? My great grandfather invented the 4-wheel drive tractor. You can say what you want about him. I don't care. Anything you want. I don't care. Don't care. Never met the man. You can say anything. Literally. Say he committed the worst crimes in the world. I don't care. Doesn't affect me at all. Your story.
All right. Yeah, people are getting their panties in a wad for another thing for your list of what people got angry about this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so
why are we upset
unimportant.
again?
Like, it's not a big
deal. Oh my God,
deal.
that's inaccurate. Ooh, it's inaccurate. First
In
time in
culture
history,
news, we are going to be covering the memes of this year. That's right. There were a lot of memes this year, and we're covering all of them.
Ooh.
All of the memes. That's not true. But we're going to try our best to cover all of the memes. So let's go ahead and start with our first one. This is from Barbie, Mugshots, and Baby Girls, who are 2023's defining memes, from David Morquand on Euronews Culture. Warning, this article is about memes, no matter how wholesome, does contain language some people may find offensive. And I've already seen some of those. Somehow, the year is almost over. So Euronews Culture takes a look back at some of our favorite memes of 2023. We have made some choices and picked the memes, the internet's life force, that ticked all the boxes. These weren't just about enjoyment, they inform us about how people deal with the news, the worlds that surround them, and the signal the language shifts in cultural lexicon. So, from viral dancing to notable crazes, here are Euronews' top memes of the year. Let me just make sure my audio is working so that we can properly hear all of them. Alright, let's go. Our first meme is Angela Bassett did the thing. Here is the image. Ariana DeBose opened the BAFTA Film Awards with a song shouting out many of the night's female nominees. DeBose rapped, Angela Bassett did the thing, Viola Davis, My Woman, King, Blanchett, Kate, You're a Genius, and Jamie Lee, You're All of Us. A strange and maddeningly vague way to praise the legendary performer who was nominated for Black Panther Wakanda. What thing? We demand context. The moment took the internet by storm, and her performance was panned and labeled as cringy, leading to DeBose to delete her Twitter account. Don't get bullied by the social media, man. They're all trolls, all of them. However, what followed was in its celebration, with Bassett bringing the meme full circle when she took the stage at the NAACP Image Awards after winning Entertainer of the Year. I guess Angela Bassett did the thing, she said in her acceptance speech. I really wonder what she did, though. What is the thing she did? What is it? Tube Girl.
Got a groove on it.
Malaysian model and influencer Sabrina Basoon went viral on TikTok with her videos dancing and lip-syncing on the London Underground. Tube Girl inspired many others to recreate the trend themselves, and the fame even led to Basoon to walk in the fashion shows in London, Paris, and Milan. Let's go ahead and play that. The Tube Girl. Very iconic video. Oh, no, pause and then play. Man, Twitter's player is so bad. All right. Here we go. And that's how she gets her iconic Tube Girl look. Following that meme, the big red boots. What is the mark of culture collectively soiling itself, threatening to walk a cliff edge? with a shrug of "fuck it, we're done"? The answer came in the humongous pair of chunky, bright red boots created by art collective MSCHF. The Astro Boy-inspired 350 rubbery monstrosities, described online as extremely shaped like boots, were spotted on celebrities and influencers all over New York Fashion Week this year, and rightly became the target of mockery online. We get that making a statement with footwear and cartoonish abstraction is well and good, but let's try better next year. Here you go, the giant. Then, what's the quadruple X? It's been quite the year for Elon Musk, who curled out the new name X, saw the valuation from the platform formerly known as Twitter half during his tenure as owner, its ad revenue decreased by 89%, and cemented his status as the poster boy for racist and anti-Semites online. Oh, and he also made it to the Guinness World Record for registering the single biggest loss of net worth in financial history, with around $200 billion. Mocking him continued to be the internet's favorite pastime, showing that there's still some sense out there. And here's a little Twitter post for that, which reads from Twitter. To the edgy, I guess, futuristic X. I have no idea. And I will probably never understand until 50 years later we'll understand the why. Just the why of it all. After 3 years since the start of the pandemic and countless reports of parties, misconduct, and empathy-lacking antics, the catastrophic British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was hauled in front of the MPs to answer the accusations of misleading the House of Commons. The bumbling equivalent of an unmade bed did its best, which sets the bar real low. However, it did give us this moment courtesy of the sign interpreter. That's right, we got this sign interpreter just making the best faces ever for everything that was going on in this hearing with Boris Johnson.
Enough.
Yeah, the interpreter's not helping. Make him seem not like a goofball. Can't believe he was not only mayor of London, but also the prime minister. Baby girl.
It's like Rudy
Boyfriends?
Giuliani's kid.
Yeah, right? Boyfriends, how very 2022 of you. This year, the internet started having baby girls. The term, often used to describe adult men, took off on social media and was used to describe mostly Jeremy Strong's Secession character, Kendall Roy. So what defines a man being a baby girl? Tough to say, as it apparently is an essence to thirst over? That or just want to give him a kiss on the forehead. Tell him everything's gonna be alright and tuck him in bed for a big boy nap. So, and here's a little tote bag of the Kendall character from Secession, which I've never watched the show, so I don't know much context about it, but...
No, right.
That poor man just needs to be cuddled and put down to sleep. He's suffering too much. Ludicrously capacious. Sticking with the Succession, which had its final season this year, one of the most memorable moments for the internet was the roast of Cousin Greg's date, courtesy of Tom Womskins, who commented on the young lady's ludicrously capacious bag. Tom, explaining to Greg his date's faux pas, delivering the vile monologue about her fashion choices. Why? Because she bought a ludicrously capacious bag? What's even in there, huh? Flat shoes for the subway? Her lunch pail? I mean, Greg, it's monstrous. It's gargantuan. You could take it camping. You could slide it across the floor after a bank job. Cue countless totes sold and instant meme fame. So here you go. Case. Just get a briefcase. Orca attacks! Remember over the summer when orcas started seemingly attacking boats off the coast of southwestern Europe? People began declaring their allegiance to Team Orca in order to save themselves, I think, in the so-called Orca Wars. The memes continue to pop up and continue to trend, celebrating nature's act of revenge on humans. We need to orca... against yachts. One margarita. The biggest song of the year? Cruel Summer? Flowers? Think again. In May, a video went viral of pro-abstinence preacher Cynthia Smock, Sister Cindy, delivering an impassioned sermon at Louisiana State University, in which she warned if you buy her one margarita, she'll spread her legs. Enter comedian Angel Lakita Moore, who joked that the speech sounded like a rap song, before launching into a freestyle that we will clip and play for you right now, because I am not going to even attempt to rap this iconic song. So we've got our margarita. Give me 5 margaritas, I'm gonna put it in your bum. That clip was a hit, leading to producer Steve Terrell and Carl Dixon to remix it into a banger we all needed this year. So, the creation of one of Margarita's songs still amazes me. Written by street preacher LSU, rapped by radio disc jockey, and produced by a TikToker. How does copyright work on that? It's called parody. So, that's how it works. The Stanley Kubrick reminiscent death stare said it all about Trump's mugshot. That's right, that also happened this year. Don't forget, Trump had a mugshot, which we can see here. So there's your Trump mugshot of just everything's gone wrong. Serving cunt. That's right, that was the warning for this article. They say the word cunt in this article. I'm gonna keep saying it because I don't care. 2023 was the year of the rudest words in English language went mainstream. Considering it would be hypocritical and anti-ethical to whole reclamation of the word that happened this year, we're going to cut it out. We're going to cut out the stars from now on. Indeed, 2023 was the year cunt went mainstream. Yep, people were ubiquitously serving cunt. This was not a crude reference for a vagina, mind you, but now a term of femininity and empowerment. Basically another word for boss bitch.
Why not?
So who's serving cunt? I don't know. Ask them. Which, if I can find the right... Here we go. Ask them who's serving cunt. And that was the entire cast of Hairspray, who is serving cunt, I guess. They promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Finally, which I need to fix this because I didn't realize we had no audio running. So let me, this is very important for me. We've got the, here we go, that should work. We've got the Planet of Bass, the satirical Europop song by DZ Crazy Times and Miss Bajana Electronica, aka TikToker Kyle Gordon and vocalist Christy Poland, went viral on TikTok and captured the imagination of the internet. The lyrics featured such swoon-worthy grammatical inept lines as is all of the dream, how does it mean? When the rhythm is glad, there is nothing to be sad. In life, it never die, women are my favorite guy. By Bajana Electronica, performed in the original video by TikToker Audrey Trulinger, was subsequently played by several TikTok stars in other videos, parodying the genre's tendency for replacing its female vocalists for no apparent reason. Here's a short 1 minute of the looped of bass featuring DJ Crazy Times by Miss Bajana Electronica.
cyber system over every.
Okay. And then our final meme of the year is, of course, Pedro Pascal. I can't think of his name. Pedro is still daddy. That's right. If you're into that weird, kind of sexually toned word daddy, Pedro is one of them. If you thought that Kendall from Succession was the internet's main squeeze, Pedro Pascal continued to capture everyone's imagination. Whether the star of Mandalorian and The Last of Us was eating a sandwich or grinning adoringly at Nicolas Cage in the clip from The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Pascal was the wholesome serotonin hit we all needed this year. Find someone who looks at you like this, and a happy life you will have. Pedro Pascal. And finally, we also cover what are one recent meme that happened I think 2 weeks ago, which was of course the BBC News anchor Mariam Mashri, who was caught giving the middle finger during a live news show, at which you can see her go from joking around to instantly serious. This is news. This is serious news. And of course, Barbenheimer, the two biggest films of the year, which was Greta Gerwig's Barbie and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, collided head-on the box office and broke the internet with memes, jokes, and fan art. It was to such an extent we even gave it its own list. Barbie was already the biggest thing of the year all year, with iconic phrases like "Just Ken," "Knuff," and "Mojo Dojo Casa House," taking the cultural lexicon by storm, but its unexpected convergence with Oppenheimer meant that the combined memes were everywhere and surprisingly uplifting. Barbenheimer was the unavoidable cultural phenomenon of the year, and the world was actually a better place for it. Granted, many Japanese moviegoers found the memification of Barbenheimer upsetting, considering that the bombing of Hiroshima approaching its 75th anniversary, but this cinematic splice did bring people back to the theaters in a big way. So swings all around. And I chose specifically the humble present of the Barbie Oppenheimer 2024 electoral map, which showed how many states watched Barbie and how many states watched Oppenheimer, with Barbie winning by 303 on the electoral map.
Oh, Texas is pink.
Funnily enough, Texas is a Barbie state, not an Oppenheimer state, which you'd think they'd be all for deadly murdering weapons, but no, they're all about Barbie, I guess. And Florida is an Oppenheimer state, so there's your swing states, I guess. You could. New York is also a Barbie state, and California is also a Barbie state. So our swing state vote of Florida goes to Oppenheimer, but it still wasn't enough for them to win the election on, I guess, best film of the year.
Look at Oregon. Oregon, very liberal state. Went for
Oregon
the Oppenheimer.
Oregon was an Oppenheimer state. Yeah, it was an Oppenheimer state, not
Oregon,
a Barbie state. Crazy.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't exactly call New Mexico a conservative state either.
But of course they were an Oppenheimer state because it was in New Mexico. Yeah. So that was more.
Oh yeah, they
Oppenheimer was a New Mexican movie because it was in New Mexico, and unfortunately that was enough for it to get all of the electoral votes, the 5 New Mexican electoral votes. Maryland was also an Oppenheimer state, and so was New Jersey. Yeah. So you can't really predict any election from these results, but it is fun to see which states,
so
whatever their actual political stances are, how the electoral map looks for 2 different films with totally different messages. And there you go. That's all that's at least Euronews Culture's favorite memes of 2023. I think we missed out on the submersible memes there. And if we missed any memes that we didn't talk about, go ahead and comment.
You covered it.
And we'll agree or disagree with you. Yeah. Finally, after my long segment, it's time for this day in history.
At least you got the hoo-ha meme in there.
Serving
The
cunt.
hoo-ha.
No, it's
I
not.
still
It's
say
now
hoo-ha.
not a bad word. You can say it now. You can say serving
Well,
cunt.
I'm just hearkening back to a few years ago. I think it was in Gainesville, Florida, or somebody. The vagina monologues were playing,
Yeah.
and some local lady got all upset and had them change the marquee to the hoo-ha monologues. Like, the fuck is that?
Vagina is the
We
scientific
can't learn
term.
the scientific names for body parts anymore.
God,
It's
people
not
are
even a cuss
so.
word. They
What,
had to
what,
remove
what was it? So people are so
Again.
prim. Oh, don't talk about anything that's private.
It transcends race, gender, everything. People get way too offended by shit that don't affect them. Anyway, this day in history, 1216, the Dominican order was sanctioned by Pope Honorius III. In 1481, a member states of the Swiss Confederation concluded the Diet of Stands in an agreement. It might be Stans. Diet of Stands, an agreement whereby civil war was averted. I think it's Diet of Stands, but Diet of Stands sounds like everybody's like, this stand is a little tough.
Or stands is also a word for people who are obsessed
What?
with celebrity. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
at least
if you're
they
a
weren't
Stan,
eating them.
it's a reference to
Hey.
Eminem made a song about Stan, and it's about this. Supposedly real. I think this is a supposedly real story where there was a dude who was
not in
obsessed with him,
1481, he
and
did.
he like killed himself or
Yeah.
something because he was so obsessed with Eminem, something like that. So Stan
Oh.
became a word in the lexicon for basically an over obsessive fan, the type of person who would murder
okay,
you
well-
because they love you so much. So standing
Meant,
is that. Yeah.
meant something else in 1481 in Switzerland,
Pretty sure,
unfortunately.
yeah.
1856, Frank B. Kellogg, U.S. Secretary of State from 1925-1929, negotiated the Kellogg-Briand Pact. Has nothing to do with breakfast cereal, unfortunately. A multilateral agreement designed to prohibit war as an instrument of national policy. Well, that worked, didn't it, huh? And won the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1929. Well, he was born in 1856. He may have started the Kellogg cereal thing, but it's lost to history, apparently. He probably didn't. 1941, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill met in Washington, D.C. to discuss World War II. In 1965, the American movie Dr. Zhivago, David Lean's adaptation of Boris Pasternak's novel, had its world premiere and hugely popular drama, which starred Omar Sharif and Julie Christie, became one of the cinema's highest grossing films. And really long films, too. 1984, Bernard Gatz, an American electrician, shot 4 African-American males in New York City subway train, alleging that they were mugging him. The incident triggered widespread debate about race and crime in the United States. Of course, they weren't mugging him. He was just being a racist. 1989, Brandenburg Gate in Berlin was reopened, signifying the reunification of East and West Germany. So we were there not too long ago, that Brandenburg Gate, with the commemorative wall decorations. 1989, Nicolae Ceausescu was ousted after 24 years of dictatorial rule in Romania. 1990, the Constitution of the Republic of Croatia was promulgated, granting such classic civil rights as freedom of speech, religion, information, and association, as well as guaranteeing the equality of nationalities. 2001, British Islamist militant Richard Reid attempted by trying to ignite explosives hidden in the soles of his high-top basketball shoes to blow up an airplane in which he had some 200 passengers on traveling. He was restrained by other passengers. The U.S. court later sentenced him to life without parole. And to stay in the United States, we got to take off our friggin' shoes. Thank you, Richard Reid, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
2010, U.S. President Barack Obama signed legislation to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the policy regarding the service of homosexuals in the military. It took effect the following year. Our featured event, 1894, Alfred Dreyfus, who looks like a doorman in this picture. On this day in 1894, on the basis of specious evidence of anti-Semitism, French Army officer Alfred Dreyfus was sentenced to life in prison for treason, sparking controversy that divided France for 12 years. Doesn't say what he's supposed to be doing, but apparently he was just sentenced because he was Jewish.
Probably.
So there you go. Feature biography, Giacomo Puccini. Giacomo, Italian composer, born this day in 1858 in Lucca, Italy, died in Brussels, Belgium, November 29th, 1924, at age 65. That's right, Puccini got himself only 65 years. Wrote a lot of operas, he did. Other birthdays today, Srinivasa Ramanujan, Indian mathematician. Was born this date, 1887. Lady Bird Johnson, First Lady of the United States, born in 1912. Diane Sawyer, American journalist. Well, she might be an engineer. Was born in 1945. Let's give her an honorary engineering degree, shall we? And also born on this day, 1960, Jean-Michel Basquiat, American artist. Basquiat? Let's call him Banksy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes was born on this day in 1962.
Voldemort.
English actor Ralph Fiennes. Voldemort, there you go. Ralph Fiennes. Many fine roles he played. Voldemort. And it's only 2 days today, besides National Forefathers Day, which looks back at these. Basically, it always shows Puritans when it does that, because the Puritans were actually the founders of American, what do you want to call it, democracy? National Date Nut Bread Day. I should say democracy without slavery, the Puritans. Let's put it that way. The southern colonies had slaves. National Date Nut Bread Day it is today. So if you like dates and you like nuts and you like bread, well, combine them and have yourself a party. Unless it's about date nut and bread. So unless it's like a date you're on with a nut who likes bread or something. That's a whole nother meaning.
No.
But those are all my bad puns. Go ahead. Sorry?
I said, no, I don't think that's it.
Well, that's all the nutty date news for today, which is December 22nd, 2023 on Before Coffee.
And this has been Allison from the windy and cold Netherlands as we're getting ready for, I guess, Christmas Eve. And we'll see you then, I guess, in a later time slot if anybody's even up this early on Christmas. And here is...
We can do a regular time.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can go
And
regular
here
time.
is your mic drop moment.
But it's not like Christmas at all. 'Cause I remember when you were here and all the fun we had that year. There's no way I'm going back this year. But it's Christmas Day. Please, 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 baby, please come home. Please come please come home. Baby, please come home. I need you, I need you. Come on,
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.